All right, I think it's rolling.
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on.
Now we're live.
All right. Hey out there, you guys. All two of you so far.
Yeah. I'm not getting anybody on here yet.
Yeah, we decided what we were going to do today because, like I said, normally it's Tuesday and normally our
All right.
Yeah, don't do that.
Turn it off.
Normally we would put up the regular episode today, but obviously we already put that up early because it was like the live stream and everything. So I thought, well, let's just do another live stream today. Hi, Tammy. Just to have something to put up. And also I had like a couple of messages about various true crime cases that we had covered in the past. Hi, Thomas. And also, so I thought that we could do like a sidetrack show about that. And also got a lot of shout outs that I want to do. And like I said, I don't like to leave it until like the main episode to like shout people out just in case they don't see it. Hey, Beth. Hey, Joanie. So it's like, so, okay. Cool.
Is this microphone on?
Yeah. I know. I keep having to, because it keeps default area micro or that microphone, which sounds like a tin can, but yeah, so I had to check. Yeah, so I guess we'll start out by doing like some shout outs because this week we got 3 new patrons.
Damn, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so Thomas, Melissa G, and Sydney.
Okay.
So, hey, thank you very much. Also, I wanted to give another like humongous shout out to everyone that gave us donations during our 200th episode live stream.
Yeah, we did a good night.
Which was, I was really surprised. I was like, we weren't even doing that. We were just doing that because a lot of people said, oh, please do a live stream. And I said, oh, that'll be neat and like special to do for our 200th episode. Yeah, and
that was like a $400 night.
I was like, Brad, that was really sweet of everybody.
Now, they take 30% of it, but still, that was money we wouldn't have made.
Well, yeah,
yes,
exactly.
You guys
and
really,
like I said, I didn't really do it for that, and I wasn't expecting that. So it's like, it was like a nice surprise.
That was a big bonus, though.
And I'd also like to thank Dan, who's also one of our patrons, and Sophie because donation today, as did Dan. He sent us one like after the live stream for the 200th episode. Also, I noticed today that we have finally broken 9,000 subscriptions.
Yeah.
Only 1,000 more to go. Well, a little less than 9,000. I think it was 9,012 like last time I looked. Hi, Christine. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Austin.
They're all still
showing
up.
Hi, Sandra. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we are. Like I said, I put up this morning. I think I put it up at like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Our time this morning that we were probably going on like, hi, David. Hi, Melanie. So that's pretty cool. Pointing out news, because sometimes I don't see like all the news stories, especially if it's just kind of buried under the thing and it's like true crime kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have more information we can deal with actually.
Yeah, it's true. It's just kind of coming in, and I'm just kind of like trying to winnow things out and like trying to get other stuff done as well. But there were updates on 2 cases that we had done shows about in the past. So I was informed about both of those. So I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. So obviously big news in the original Night Stalker Joseph James DeAngelo case. They have mentioned that on June 29th, he is probably going to plead guilty to all charges. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
In lieu of the death penalty. Now, they are saying that the thing about it is that even though this plea deal has kind of apparently, from what I've read, has been on the table since the beginning, like ever since they caught him, because he's elderly and a lot of the witnesses are also elderly, and also because his crimes had been committed in several different jurisdictions, and it was going to be, they couldn't decide whether they were going to try him and all this other stuff. So apparently they decided the best thing to do, especially with, the COVID-19 and like the lockdowns, and it was going to be a pain in the ass, like to get people to, give deposition or give witness testimony. And so, like I said, some of the witnesses had died or were, in bad health or whatever. So I'm thinking that this is probably the best situation for all involved, because honestly, the thing about it is that the dude is old, and had he gotten the death penalty, he wouldn't, with all the appeals and stuff, he never would have gotten it anyway. So I feel like him pleading guilty and just going to prison for the rest of his life, hopefully suffering in prison, is probably the best outcome, especially because he walked around free for so long.
He got away with it, basically.
He did. I mean, that's what's shitty.
It doesn't matter what his plea is, really, because he could plead not guilty. He would still spend the rest of his life in prison fighting it.
Yeah.
Because that's a 20-year battle.
Yeah.
So you might as well just say, fuck it. I don't want all these court dates.
Yeah.
Let's just, I'm going to plead guilty to it.
I mean, like I said, it seems like the best situation for all involved because I don't know, like, I don't really think anyone was really like super dead set on him getting the death penalty because like you said, I knew, you know, he wasn't going to get it anyway.
Oh, it taking too long.
And it would have taken too long. I mean, death penalty.
And what they did is they probably cut him a real sweet deal. They're like, look, you'd save us a lot of money if you'd go ahead and just plead to this.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll get you out of fucking county jail and we'll send you to a real sweet fucking place in the penitentiary system. They probably promised him to go to a much better place that had more, you know what I mean, medical facilities and better, you know, what they call it, canteen. Yeah. And, you know, we'll give you a better cafeteria and we'll give you a job or some shit like that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he still got away with it. It's like there's no way we can go back in time and like catch him. You know, it would have been nice if we'd caught him before he did. He was
identified though before he died, and now it's, you know, he knows that's on his name. He didn't totally get away with it, but
yeah, that's true. Although I heard like somebody pointed out that I'm not sure how it works in like all different states, but I know that if you die like while you like before you get convicted of anything like or anything like that, it's like you're still considered innocent. I guess like you're not really considered, like those cases are still considered unsolved, which I guess would just be a legality because they're pretty sure that that's who did it. But, you know, so that might be fucked up but honestly, I haven't heard anybody like in the victims' families or anything like that complaining about this particularly because I'm sure none of them really want to go fucking through all the shit of like having to look at his stupid face like in the courtroom every day because I certainly would not. So I guess that's kind of the best thing that can be hoped for. So we'll see if he's actually going to do it. He hasn't actually done it yet. Apparently it's supposed to be like on the 29th of June that he's going to come out and say that he's going to plead guilty so he doesn't get the death penalty. Now, another case that has just had a humongous, you know, update was, and if you remember back in March when we did I think it was our third like creepy disappearances show. And we talked about the disappearance of Joshua JJ Vallow, who was 7 years old, and I believe it was his half sister or his stepsister, Tylee Ryan, who was 17. And they went missing in, I believe, September 2019. And there was like some sketchy shit, like with the parents and the stepdad and all this other stuff. These two children's bodies have been found. They were found on June 10th, I believe June 9th or June 10th. So they found them buried in the backyard of Joshua Vallow's mom's like husband, the new husband, Chad Daybell. They found him in his backyard. Now, at the moment, he has been arrested, but at the moment they're only charging him with hiding evidence or something like that, because I don't know if there's enough evidence to convict him. Now they are looking into him obviously like as a suspect, because if you remember, we talked about this, like I said, back in March on our creepy disappearances show, where, you know, and this is before they had found them when the kids were still missing. And most people had assumed that the parents definitely had something to do with it, because these two, this is like a fucked up case. And I was like reading again, like I was refreshing my memory, like on the Wikipedia page. And it's like, this is fucking crazy shit. Because the thing about it is like when the kids went missing, you know, JJ, who was 7 years old, like I said, he was seen September 23rd at his elementary school. And then he disappeared after that. And then Tylee Ryan, who was 17, she was seen September 8th. But they didn't really realize, because like I said, the parents didn't report her missing. So nobody realized that she was missing until after like JJ had gone missing also. And other relatives like got suspicious about it and were like, hey, where the fuck are those two kids? And then all this other shit happened, because the mom, Lori Vallow, she initially told police that JJ was staying with a friend of the family. So the police called the friend of the family, whose name was Melanie Gibbs, and you know, Melanie Gibbs was like, no, he's not here. I haven't seen him for a really long time.
They knocked the kids off.
You know what I mean?
I wonder why. They were bad.
Well, yeah, they just like seem like terrible people. So
no, I meant the kids. The kids were bad, so they knocked them off. It was a joke.
Oh, I was like sitting there going, well, obviously they're bad because they're like killing their children.
Well, there's kind of a story behind it. We were in the Army one time, and we were watching the news on TV. This back in the 90s, and some mom had killed one of her kids and chased the other ones out the back door and then killed that one with a knife. And these are like 6 to 7 year old kids, I think. And she had just given birth to another one. I think she drowned it or some shit like that.
God damn it.
Must have been some kind of postpartum depression, you know. Well, somebody in the day room goes, what the hell did she do that for? And then another guy said, because they were bad.
Yeah, I guess.
we
but that's kind of what kids do.
Yeah,
kids
they were
are
bad.
I mean, if you've never hacked, I
Just
don't
kinda,
have any kids, but it's like I grew up around kids because I have a whole siblings.
Some shit just went down a couple of days ago. I saw it on television. I don't know all the details yet. They found some kind of like half-dressed, starving kid walking around with a damn chain on his neck or something, and it led back to a house run by 2 old people. And they had some kids in there chained up, and they were starving them to death. And one of them was dead and buried out in a damn backyard.
Oh my God, it's like the people under the stairs. And
and they had legal custody of the kids. I don't know, maybe if they were foster kids or they'd adopted them, or maybe they got custody through some family somehow. I don't know. I heard this shit and I was like, I don't want to hear any more of that. I fucking
yeah, fuck that shit.
But that might be a good show once we know more about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what case I'm talking about? It happened maybe like a week ago.
I might add it too, because one of the shows, not the next one we're doing, but I definitely like before the end of the month or early next month, I want to do one because I know a lot of people have asked us to do one on like sex slave kidnappings, like Ariel Castro and stuff like that. So I definitely want to do one of those like in the next couple weeks. If that's kind of similar, then maybe we can add it to that show as well. But yeah, so not only did the kids missing, and well, now they know that they're dead. They found them like buried in the yard. But listen to this shit. So it's like I said, they were suspicious of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. From the beginning, because they lied about where the kids were and were like really cagey about, oh yeah, they're here, they're there. We don't know where they're, you know what I mean? Don't look at us. So, you know, they've kind of been under suspicion. And I believe that Lori Vallow was arrested back in November for abandonment, basically for abandoning the children, because like I said, then they didn't know that the kids were dead. But the weird thing about this was, so July of 2019, Lori Vallow's estranged husband or ex-husband or something like that, he was killed by Lori's brother. Like Lori's brother shot and killed him, but he got away with it because he said it was self-defense, which the police were like, okay, fine. Then the brother died of a blood clot in December of last year. Then there was a guy named Brandon Boudreaux, who was the estranged husband of Lori Vallow's niece. He was shot at in the driveway of his house. That was in Arizona. And then he hired a private investigator, and the private investigator was one of the first ones to notice that the kids were missing. Another thing too was that also in October of 2019, Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy, she was shot at in her driveway as well, although she thinks it was a paintball gun. She wasn't really sure. But then a few weeks later, she died in her sleep from natural causes, which I kind of doubt. Now they didn't do an autopsy or anything like that. So if she had been poisoned, then and then Chad Daybell ended up marrying Lori Vallow like 2 weeks after Tammy died.
Damn.
So it's like, this seems a little suspicious, a lot suspicious. Come on.
They're asking for Pookie. Pookie's in the cat tree in the very top apartment.
She's taking a nap.
Sleeping her ass
off. She's just right outside that door.
Yeah.
She's up in her little top apartment. Because, you know, our cat tree, if you've seen on the video, it has like 3 little apartments, and then it has like 3 little bowls.
Yeah.
Like that you can sit in a little like ropes and
she likes the bowls and the apartments.
Yeah, she kind of switches between the apartment and the bowl.
Yeah.
You know, during the day. She's kind of like, oh, the bowl's kind of nice, and she can look out the window at the birds, and then she gets up and cuddles up in the thing. But so Lori Vallow, she was arrested in February of this year, and that was desertion, non-support. Then she got extradited to Idaho, and then she originally had $5 million bail, but I guess that they, you know, lowered it down to $1 million. Now, after that, like, I guess I don't know why it took them so long to like search Chad Daybell's house, but they only just got a search warrant on June 9th, which is like a few days ago. And then they dug up his backyard and found the 2 bodies. And then they like, you know, of these 2 fucking kids. So, like I said, they arrest him, but not for murder, just for concealment of evidence. And he's pleading not guilty.
Maybe the woman killed him.
It could be. But I feel like, well, he probably had to know about it, I'm sure. Because, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, you can't really say allegedly, but, it seems very, very suspicious that several people, like relatives and like ex-husbands and wives and things like that around these two turned up dead. You know what I mean? That just seems really suspicious. They're just like killing everybody. And it just seems like they're not being particularly secretive about it, and they're still getting away with it. So I don't know. So Daybell is in jail, even though, if that's all he gets convicted of, concealment of evidence, it's like 5 years in jail and $1,000 fine. That's like it. But they are investigating him for other shit. So I guess they're just keeping him in there for that, like until they can get some more dirt on him. Apparently, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the original show that we did about the missing kids, but apparently both Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are in one of those weird religious cults that think that the end of the world is coming, like the apocalypse or whatever.
It's starting to make sense now.
Like, yeah. So
I think she killed him because if she didn't kill him, she would have gone to the police. He was protecting her because she killed him. Yeah. Maybe she killed him because they were possessed by the devil.
Oh man, that sounds like some like bullshit that somebody like that would.
Yeah, there was something like that had gone on in some kind of weird compound out. You guys might remember where that it was. They were some kind of Muslim. I don't know if they were Middle Eastern Muslims or if they were American Muslims, but they were a black family, and they were out in the desert, and they had a damn ring of looked like truck cars, empty trucks and shit around this little homemade compound, and they were running out of food, and they took one of the kids, the little boy, tortured him and crucified him to make him experience the sufferings of Christ, and this would bring on the Mahdi or something, the Muslim what do you call it? Kind of like a apocalyptic figure,
right? Yeah.
During the apocalypse. But evidently they had damn crucified that kid. And for some reason they let him go. That's what last I heard. Wouldn't charge him. Religious freedom, I guess. I don't fucking know. I don't know how these people
That's not how religious freedom works.
I don't know how. They let him go, though, from what I remember. I mean, I haven't looked in. Maybe they recharged him. I don't know. But maybe somebody in the comment sections might know. That might be a good show, too, because that's been a couple years.
Well, weren't there some
kind of weird cult,
like some offshoot cults or offshoot sects of the Mormons that were thought to have killed a bunch of people and buried the kids out in the desert and shit like that?
Well, yeah, that was those damn brides.
Yeah.
Runaway brides.
That's right. Yeah, they tried to run away from the compound.
Yeah, some of those Mormon cults are basically just damn sex cults, really. You know what I mean? It's all the old guys trading young women with each other through all these big network of brides. I don't know how with a
nice little veneer of religion.
Yeah, and they throw the boys away, and they all end up homeless and shit. And then the girls try to run away, and they have cops, real policemen, but they're in that religion.
Yeah.
And they'll go out and catch those girls and give them back over to the elder, and sometimes the church elders kill them, bury them out there, pass a death sentence on them. But that's like out in the middle of the desert, Mormon territory.
Yeah.
And, they're what they call those breakaway sects.
Yeah.
But my understanding, the Mormon writings, they're actually following what the writings say. So they're just kind of using it to their own purpose. The main part of the church, though, doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But in a way, you know what I mean? They could say, well, it's reformed, but a lot of people didn't want to accept the reform. I knew Mormons, went to school with them. As far as I knew, they all had one wife. I don't know if, you know what I mean, maybe there were other ones that they had stashed out somewhere back in Salt Lake City. But I think there was mostly one wife, I think. Yeah, it looked like it.
Well, the thing about it is you can only legally marry one anyway.
But you don't have to marry the other ones, though.
Right, that's not to stop you from having a whole harem, but you can do that anywhere.
What they were doing, part of the scam, is that you married to one wife, right? But then all the other sister wives, I think is what they call them.
Yeah.
They're all considered single mothers, and they put them all on welfare. And they call it bleeding the beast. So that guy can make a shit ton of money off of all these wives, and they're all on welfare.
Yeah.
So, most religions have an element to scam in them. But don't be all high and mighty, because if you believe in politics is a fucking element of scam in that too.
Mango Badger says on the plus side, we got the Osmonds.
Yeah.
Is that a plus? Yeah. I guess.
What was funny is that what's funny about Mormons is that every Mormon I knew went to school with her. They were all good looking. They were all real good looking.
Because they kill all the ugly ones.
Yeah, selective breeding.
That's probably I'm
breeding.
joking, but am I? I don't know.
They had a long history of selective breeding. In fact, Margaret Sanger and all those early geneticist people and everything used them as a test bed, even kind of like the German National Socialists, you'd know them as the Nazis. The Nazis looked at a lot of their birth records and saw that they had weeded out a bunch of diseases, which helped support the racial hygiene theory that you could breed healthier people by not allowing sick people to have children. You got rid of fucking hemophiliacs and diabetes and stuff like that. Which the Germans knew that anyway. They just wanted to prove it, because the Germans had been animal breeders for fucking centuries. Some of the best dogs and horses you could buy were German breeds, so they were just going to breed themselves, Why not? That's where all that Superman concept, Nazi Superman stuff.
Well, yeah.
Self-breeding, the Joy Division.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of like
that was like
a different breeding program, but
yeah,
that was women. Young women giving up their reproductive services to high-ranking, genetically superior SS men, and they were going to raise children in the name of the state. It's ultimate fucking totalitarian socialist concept. Raising children for the state, like a human incubator.
Yeah.
Well, the way they looked at it, though, you had young guys giving their lives in the war on the fucking Eastern Front, so the women were giving up their uteruses to make replacement Germans for the dead. And then they were raising them in orphanages.
Replacement Germans.
That's
very funny.
It's a system.
That'd be a good band.
Replacement Germans.
Replacement Germans.
Weren't enough Germans.
Yeah, I really like this, the Tylee Ryan and Joshua Vallow case. I really want to look more into, because a lot of the news coverage just kind of has some shit about the religion thing, but hasn't gone super in depth on it. So I would actually like to look into that, because I feel like that's probably a factor. And like I said, it seems very odd that all of these other murders have happened around these lunatics. And I mean, that can't be a coincidence, right? That all of these wives and husbands and nieces and nephews and stuff are turning up dead. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to fucking, I don't know what it is they're doing. Yeah, because somebody they're saying in the comments, JJ was dark.
What do they mean by that?
That they were not
evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the devil.
The kids were evil or something.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
So that's probably what the justification was.
Yeah, I figured usually if religious type murders are about that.
Well,
the kids didn't pass the grade.
Yeah, and that happens a lot too with these cults that still do exorcisms and stuff like that, and a bunch of kids have died that way, with the parents because they'll try to smother them, or they die during the exorcism because they don't feed them or give them water or anything like that.
We have to understand, fantasy prone people are kind of susceptible to these kind of systems anyway. It's just bad that these same fantasy prone people carry innocent victims along with them.
Well, yeah, it'd be one thing if they just offed themselves. Right. No one would complain.
Right.
But it's just kids that don't have any choice about who their damn parents were.
Right. They actually had weird cults out in California and out in the West. They existed for a long time, where it was basically, I think it was called Children of God, wasn't it?
Yeah, did we talk about them on our cult show a long time ago? We need to talk about
them, I think, more. It looked like Christianity. It used kind of like a Christian veneer. But what it was the idea was that you should have a bunch of children. They're like quiverful children.
Yeah.
And then you loan your children out to other families so they can all have sex with them. There was a huge network of child molesters that had a Christian veneer on it. And they would make chocolates and shit and make candles, I think, and send them out and sell all this stuff, make pies. I think they lived in campers and crap. They eventually bought a bunch of apartments, and they were living in it. Religiously sanctified pedophiles. And evidently the government knew all about it and just said, well, their interpretation of the fucking law, I guess they thought it was, this is mostly 70s, I think.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you'd get away with it.
You couldn't get away with it now.
Well, because like I said, religious freedom only goes so far. If you're committing actual crimes, then it's not religious.
Well, one of those kids grew up and he was fucking trying to complain about it and get help. Nobody would help him. So he passed judgment on the whole cult, got an assault rifle, went down there and killed a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Then shot himself.
Yikes. Yeah. Thomas Carlyle asked, what religion was Heaven's Gate? Yeah, what was that even based on?
Heaven's Gate was...
That was like a UFO cult.
It was just UFO cult.
I mean, I don't even know like where... I don't know enough about their...
I know about it.
We never did a show about them, did we?
No, we need to, though.
We probably
What was that guy's name? What was that clown's name?
Oh, man. I can see his face. I can't think of his damn
he
name.
looked like a human ET. And what you wanted to look like a human ET.
Well, yeah, because then you could actually say that you were
What he was is he was a pedophile. He went to prison for it, got in trouble, and then decided to get all in UFOs after that and cut his junk off. That's what kept him out of trouble. So he wanted to become asexual and an extraterrestrial. You know, I'd rather be an extra testicle.
Blah, blah, blah,
fucking, I'd rather be an extra testicle. He's trying to be an extraterrestrial and cut off his testicles.
Anyone really need an extra testicle on you?
More testosterone.
Is it?
I guess so. Let me fucking lie.
You wouldn't be able to like find underwear that fit.
No, they'd fit in there. They'd fit in there.
There'd always be like one like up in your taint and stuff.
No, I'd have them sucking hanging side by side like that. So anyway,
like one of those Newton's cradles.
Yeah. What he did is he built a whole empire of these nerdy web designers. And no, they were just nerdy web designers. Did you see them?
Yeah, I know.
Nerdy UFO web designers.
Hey, I'm a graphic designer. Don't hate.
They all kind of wore a little jogging suit and sneakers, and they had a little ET uniform that they were making that they had. And they lived on a compound and just did IT work online, which was way ahead of its time back in the 90s. There was some futuristic shit. Well, they thought the Hale-Bopp comet was coming, and their interpretation of the Hale-Bopp comet is that behind it, the alien mothership would be there to collect their souls. So they ate cyanide-laced peanut butter and fucking beamed themselves up to the fucking mothership and left the planet.
Well, for all we know, they might have really thought they were dead. And
they believed it. They all fucking killed themselves.
They never knew that wasn't what happened.
Evidently, everybody liked him. They went to fucking Bob's Big Boy a lot and fucking ordered all exactly the same thing, and all the waitresses, and they all tipped exactly the same amount. And they were all exactly the same, and they were just kind of friendly, nerdy.
Marshall Applewhite, though.
Marshall Applewhite, that's his name. Exactly.
Sinister said.
Yeah,
thank
Marshall
you.
Applewhite.
I wouldn't have remembered that.
There's videos of him talking, and he's just fucking. He looks like he's fucking on like 6 hits of acid. His eyes are like the size of fucking saucers.
It is like super weird.
Yeah, and he's trying, and he's very kind of like asexual and kind of he's not one sex or another. They were trying to transcend the limitations of gender and humanity. I guess you could say they were almost kind of like transhumanists in a way. They were going to become alien souls.
The thing about them is that I guess I'm not super bothered by the. I mean, they're weirdos, but they didn't take anyone that didn't want to go, and it wasn't like. I mean, that guy was like molesting children and stuff like early in his life.
That was a long time before that.
But but this cult in particular. I'm not going to say it's harmless, obviously, but at least they only killed themselves and didn't like take out a bunch of innocent people.
Wasn't harmless. I mean, they all, some of those were some very susceptible people that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's a fine line. It's like once somebody is an adult,
it's that peer pressure. They're in that.
Yeah, it's like, it's really bad because it seems like cults in particular, they know, Scientology does it. All these fucking cults do it that, NXIVM. They're just like looking for people who are vulnerable.
It's across the spectrum, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this happens in the mainstream of society. I mean, you can look at America right now. Not only in America, all of the Western world right now is being polarized into two opposite directions, of two opposite sides, and in a way, the thinking is very tribal and cult-like. It's part of human nature to do this. It's part of human nature to believe in things and to have a religious aspect to it. And both sides of this fucking coming conflict, there's a religious element, even if it's a secular religion. It's moral panic, moral panic, atonement, apocalypse, the destruction of the earth by fire, all that. It's all those same themes. And, it goes back to the fucking Mayans and the Aztecs. They were like that. It's just part of human nature. And this is going to be a transformative fucking episode in history. It'll probably also be what they call an evolutionary bottleneck. Certain things are going to pass the test and certain things aren't in terms of fucking ideology. It's okay to have a belief system and an ideology, but it has to be able to survive reality. If it's not real and you can't make it, then it's fantasy. So weird shit's going to happen. Some of this stuff that you see going on in some of these cities that have fucking lost control, it's kind of like the equivalent of the ultimate form of political protest, which is self-immolation. Like you see in India where people douse themselves with gasoline and set themselves on fire. You're seeing people setting themselves on fire figuratively. As it gets worse, some of them might actually set themselves on fire. That's how strong belief systems can really a strong belief system can fuck somebody up. You're not supposed to be extreme. Or if you are extreme, you should only be extreme in extreme circumstances, which I guess they think they're in extreme circumstances. But we're going to see. If you ask me, it looks like a Jacobin revolution, and fucking the French Revolution did not end well. It backfired. It brought in Emperor Napoleon because people would rather have stability than chaos. And if you look at the Jacobin revolution, that was religious. It was a moral panic. But we can get back on the main.
Somebody, Michael Venture said, remember the cult that tried to get on the city council and they poisoned a salad bar? I do remember that. Who the hell was that? Shit, that's so familiar. Because it was a long time ago. I don't even remember what episode this was, but we did one we did a show that had like 4 different cults on it. I'm pretty sure we talked about Children of God, but I don't remember what the other 3 were. But I do remember reading about that. I just can't remember what they were called.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get people aware that we're all in a way in cults. The army infantry was a warrior cult. Political parties are fucking cults. Everything is cult-like. Corporations are cults. So you really have to analyze yourself and find out what it is that you believe in. Are you believing things you really believe in, or are you believing things that you were told to believe in? You have to be able to master your own mind. You know what I mean? Are you seeing a world in a certain way because the information you've been given was given to you on purpose by somebody trying to manipulate you? Cults do that. The cults try to divide and separate. They even try to fucking make you question reality, try to make you question the reality of humans, of male and female. And you can get somebody to fucking really think upside down. You know what I mean? So I laugh at cults in a certain way, but you got to learn from them because that same shit can happen to you. Well,
I think, like I said, that's a good, that's a good thing to study because you can see how, because I think anybody can, to an extent, can be manipulated. Some people obviously are much more easily manipulated than others. And like I said, I think a lot of, cults, in particular religious cults, or like Scientology or something like that, which isn't, I don't know if I'd call it a religious cult, but I guess it kind of is.
Scientology, it's definitely a religious cult.
Yeah, but I mean, in the sense that, I don't know, I guess it's.
Well, here's the weird thing about cults. You would think that stupid people would be susceptible to cults.
No, that's not the case.
Actually, no. The smarter you are, the more susceptible to a cult.
Well, because sometimes people that are really smart think they can't be fooled.
And they have imaginations, and they can imagine things in their minds that don't exist. People that are not very intelligent have to see things to believe it. They're a little bit. In other words, look at it this way. It's a lot easier to get an intelligent person to join a cult than it would be to get, say, like a shark to join a cult, or a fucking chimpanzee to join a cult,
or Pookie
to join a cult. You can't fool something that doesn't have much of an intelligence.
Although Pookie is a lot smarter than some people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm just saying. And even she would never join a cult.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the thing, I think from what I've read, I'd have to look again at the studies, but I'm pretty sure like the intelligence levels are pretty much all across the board. But I do think that there's a perception that people who are smart like don't fall for cults, but that's not necessarily the case. And like I said, I don't know if it has to do with intelligence necessarily, because a lot of the people that they target are people that are emotionally at really vulnerable places in their life. Like they're looking for meaning, or, you know, they're just coming out of like, you know, drug addiction or alcohol addiction or whatever. So they're kind of targeting people that are like at a low point. So, you know, and then sometimes they're kind of getting in under their defenses that way. But like I said, I do think there's a thing too with intelligent people that I think sometimes are, not always, but I think they can sometimes be overconfident and they think that they can't be fooled. So it's easier to manipulate them in particular ways or in certain ways. But, you know, I don't know. I'd have to kind of look into that. But I am kind of the cult of Pookie. Yeah, she definitely needs her own.
Somebody's asking about Jim Jones. He was the biggest cult leader, wasn't he? No, he was not the biggest cult leader.
Well, in the sense that he got like 900 something people to commit suicide.
The biggest cult leader of all time would have been Joseph Stalin. That was a cult.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in the classical sense of the word cult, where you get like the religious cult that goes down. I mean, I don't think we've ever done a show about Jim Jones, have we?
No, yeah.
I don't think we did.
No, there's probably bigger cults than that in India.
Yeah, but in the Western world.
In the Western world,
like, you know, that people know of. You know what I'm saying?
What made Jim Jones stand out was the fact that they all killed themselves.
Yeah. Well, but they didn't all kill themselves.
Well, most of them. But there are a lot bigger cult leaders that people have forgotten about, that the cults didn't commit suicide. For instance, Reverend Moon was a Korean guy. He had a huge cult, and they were kind of controlling, but they weren't very evil. They just didn't want people talking to non-Moonies.
Yeah.
And they didn't want people talking to their family members if they weren't Moonies. Reverend Hung Sung Moon was his name, and he was a trip. He was a Korean guy, and he made all kinds of weird Gnostic claims. You know, he said that he had defeated the Soviet Union himself. That was quite a claim. He said he would go. He went into a trance and went astral and had astral projection and went into the spirit world and fucking undermined the Soviet Union in the other dimension, and then came back because he couldn't stand communism. He's Korean. He didn't like North Korea either. But that's a wild claim. Well, saying
stuff like that is kind of genius because you can't disprove that.
Yeah. But the Moonies were kind of interesting. They were kind of like a mixture of Southern Baptist, Christian, but with a whole bunch of, say, like Edgar Casey type psychic stuff mixed in with it. Probably organized a lot like Scientology. I don't know if you could pay. I don't know if you had to pay to become a wizard, which that's Scientology's claim to fame.
Yeah, that's their bag.
You can buy your way into being a fucking wizard
and making people work and not paying them and all kinds of shit like that.
Yeah, slave labor basically.
Yeah,
and, but fucking what's his name? Fucking LRH, L. Ron Hubbard, he got that idea from fucking Aleister Crowley. A lot of people don't realize that he didn't know Crowley, but he knew Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
Or did he know Crowley? No, I don't think he did.
I can't remember. We did a show about it a while back.
He knew Anton LaVey, I think. I have to look back into that. LRH was a fucking powerful cult leader too. And they own a lot of stuff. You know, they own whole towns. They have fucking secret bases out in the desert.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, David.
Thank you.
And hey, hello from the UK. Hello from Korea. We got wow, there's people all over the place.
People all over the damn world. Somebody just talking about Reverend Moon.
Yeah. He says, look into the Shinjeonji Church of Jesus in South Korea. I know we should do like a whole other cult extravaganza. We need to do another one of those because there's so many that we forgot. I can't even remember what the 4 were that we covered on the other one. And we probably need to revisit them because I think we did that show like back when we were still like trying to keep them to an hour, which is like so funny to me. I don't even know how did we even fucking do that back then?
Zach's asking for a show on Soviet war crimes. It'd be hard to do Soviet war crimes. The thing is about a lot of the things crimes against humanity that the Soviet Union did wasn't in war. There was stuff that they did to their own population. I'm not a big I'm not in real agreement with the concept of war crime. When you really look at history, especially the Second World War, basically everyone committed war crimes. All sides were, but you had to understand the battlefield of the day and the situation of the day. Like basically the United States, okay, the American and the Soviet tale of the destruction of the Nazi Empire, the Third Reich, is that it was a war of good versus evil. Actually, it was more like a war of evil versus evil. The Nazis weren't destroyed by good. They were destroyed by evil, a greater evil than them, in the form of the Soviet army raping and pillaging its way into Germany and fucking burning everything down. And on the other side, it was the American Army Air Corps basically dropping fire on sleeping German children. So you're out there as a German soldier trying to fight to protect your country on the Eastern Front, but your wife and children are all fucking burned up back home. It's fucking just really sapped the morale of the German people. And it broke the fucking war production of the Germans. Now, some people would say that's a war crime. Well, you had to do what you had to do. There were technological limitations in the Second World War. You wanted to do target pinpoint bombing of German war production facility. But to do that, you had to fly down low where you'd get shot at and shot down by fucking anti-aircraft artillery. So you had to bring the bombing runs up to a higher altitude. When you did that, you missed them. You missed the target. So in order to hit, you had to make a whole bunch of planes drop a whole lot of bombs, and most of them would miss and fall into the damn neighborhood, and some of them would hit the damn factory. So most of your bombs killed civilians, which actually did more damage than destroying the factory. And later, when the factories were destroyed, the Germans just moved war production into people's houses. They did that in Japan, too. So now you have to target the civilians to stop the war productions. Because in reality, in a real war, every civilian is war material. They're doing something to further the war machine. They're making weaponry, or they're making future soldiers by having children. So these were apocalyptic wars. They weren't wars of where you're trying to get an agreement out of the enemy. You're just trying to destroy the enemy. It was the only way. So in those days, and even in the day when I was a soldier, which I was being trained for basically the fucking World War III, which is the fucking nuclear apocalypse, the whole idea was just to get the shit over with and target the civilians. You fight your way through the enemy army and just hit them where they live. And that was ultimately what it was you had to do. It was a primitive type of warfare like shit you see 2,000 years ago between the fucking Germans and the ancient Romans. They were wars of just annihilation. And the U.S. Army hasn't been like that in a long time. That's why they lose. That's why they lose. All right. They're trying to be policemen instead of soldiers. It doesn't work, and it stopped working around the time of fucking Operation Restore Hope, which they tried to get us to go on that mission. That was Somalia. Somalia was fucking, oh man, I could do a whole show on Somalia. Somalia happened just like we said it would happen. When you got on there to kill those warlords to free up the food, all of them would turn against you, because the only thing that mattered was they saw white people killing black people. So everybody in the damn nation turned against them. So we had to leave. And so it's just, you can't get involved in shit like that. Don't get involved in other people's civil wars. You can't be the world policeman. This is a fucking fantasy, which America's learning this right now. Yeah. They should have learned it in Vietnam. Well, we got involved with a Vietnamese civil war against basically two weak enemies, and they kicked our fucking ass.
Yeah, well.
You know. And people go, we have all these weapons and tanks and jets. That shit's all worthless. In fucking Afghanistan, getting our asses kicked by 90 IQ dudes in flip-flops. Just rifles. Whipping your ass. Because you can't bring to bear on them any weapons on them. Because it's not a war. You know? But, so war, that kind of war is obsolete. It's going to go back to almost kind of like Roman era wars. That's the future. But it's non-uniformed armies. Terrorists. That's the future. And civil wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on a happier note,
Right. We're in the apocalypse. Let Nostradamus tell you something. We are in the fucking apocalypse. It's just beginning. This is not how these things end. This is just how they begin. You'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I was gonna like say on a happier note than I was gonna say, has anybody been watching that new Gordon Ramsay show? But
yeah.
But it seems kind of like lame after all that.
Yeah. No, Gordon Ramsay got a good show. What's it called again?
Uncharted.
Uncharted. Yeah. Really.
They
good.
only did the second one. We're only on the second one. I guess it's on, what is it, on Sunday nights? I think it's on Nat Geo. Because we don't like watch TV. We have like the 50 bajillion channel package because it came cheap with the internet. But we hardly ever watch it. But yeah, I think it's on the National Geographic channel. And just started a couple weeks ago. So I guess it's a thing where he goes to some sort of out of the way area and he has a week to like learn all the local cooking techniques. And then there's like a big thing at the end where he has to feed everybody. So like the one he did the first week was Tasmania. And then the one we saw, the one that was on this Sunday night was South Africa. He was in like part of South Africa. And next week, I think he's doing Louisiana, right? He's doing like, he's going down in the bayou and they showed like a little bit of that. You know what I mean? Throw a flip-flop at the right angle and it can be deadly. It probably can. You can probably kill people with it.
They're asking me if we should start saving first generation pea.
Man, don't say that. Water would be better.
Just get
we start saving first generation.
Just get some water filtration and fucking don't go in the desert. Fucking, you want fucking moving water nearby.
That's what I mean. It's like every time we have watched that show, I Shouldn't Be Alive. Now I kind of want to go back and start watching that show again. I don't know if it's still on. Or
don't go in the ocean and don't go in the desert. It's the same shit.
Yeah,
nothing to drink.
You don't have to tell me like not to go in the ocean. I grew up like right next. I grew up in Daytona Beach, which is like right on the ocean, and it's like I would not go more than like a few fucking feet out there because man, they're sharks and jellyfish, and I'm not going out in a boat in the middle of the fucking ocean and then end up in the fucking raft. I remember that guy and he was in that fucking raft and he was like, how long was he in that fucking raft? I mean, at least the raft had like a roof on it. Oh,
that one dude? No, he was out in that. Oh, it was a long time.
It was a long time.
Was he there for like 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, it was like some ridiculous. I don't even know. I don't know how he survived. I don't.
He was just fucking survived with his head hanging out, looking into the water, and he was catching stuff.
Yeah, he was like taking fish, and I think he was squeezing water out of the fish too, because that was because that was fresh water.
He was catching water too because it had that
that's right
roof, so he was catching water and doing.
I mean, he lost like 50 fucking pounds or something.
I think he was out there for like 4 months.
Yeah, it was like a ridiculously long time. I couldn't like
in a round inflatable survival raft.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was good that it was one of the ones that had like a little triangular, like a tent thing on top. So that probably saved, because if he didn't have that, he probably would have died of exposure. Like
he must have gone insane, man. 4 months.
Can you imagine?
4 months of, and he would see ships go by. They didn't see him.
Well, yeah, because it's like fucking tiny. I mean, the ocean's gigantic. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Like the ocean has always like scared the fucking shit out of me. I'm not going in that shit. You know, and like I said, I'm not going across the desert either. So
yeah,
I'll probably be safe.
So anybody got any questions or anything?
You guys should do a show on the North Sentinel Island. I'm still laughing at like saving our first generation.
He was eating fins and eyes for vitamins.
Yeah, I thought he was. He was like taking fish, and I think he was like squeezing water out of them too, like because that's kind of like fresh water.
He said North Koreans believe holding hands too long can get you pregnant. Yeah, another one that was a good one.
Oh shit!
All right.
Oh, thank you, Zach.
Was some Chinese couple. This happened. China has no real pornography and no sex education. This is maybe about 6, 7, 8 years ago now. I think they realized that there might be a problem. They might have to give people sex education. Couple got married, a young couple, and they couldn't get pregnant. And fucking, they kept testing the girl and the guy, and they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get pregnant. Turned out he was going anal on her.
Yeah.
He thought that was how it was done.
Can't grow a baby in your butt.
No.
Well, I don't think you can. No.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No.
This is just kind of like, and this was, this wasn't a Chinese person, but I'm pretty sure this was an American person. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I had heard that there is there's more than one man that has gone online saying that, like, because I think there was kind of a thing where, people have been arguing against like having a particular tax like on tampons and sanitary napkins, like maxi pads and stuff, and are saying that that's not cool and everything. And he was saying, why do you even need those? Because why can't you just hold it?
Just hold it. Just hold it until you get home.
Yeah. And more than one person has said, funny. Now see, this is what this, I don't know if those people were homeschooled or if they went to like a religious school. You
gotta be fucking joking.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that because there are some stupid people out there. So people actually thought that a woman could hold your period blood like you're holding pee.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
No.
I wish it worked like that, but it doesn't.
Who asked that? Who said this?
I don't know. I saw it.
This must have been a fucking 10-year-old.
Well, see, that's what scared me. I think it was like an older teenager dude, a 19 or 20-year-old.
I've gotten into fights with people that have said some stupid shit online and turned out and fucking fight with like a 10-year-old.
I just assume everybody that says something stupid, I just assume that's like a 10-year-old boy.
Zach asking something.
He says advice on ways to deal with existential dread.
How do you define existential dread?
I don't know, man. That's just like a general dread about kind of everything going to shit. I mean, the only way I deal with it, it's probably the only way anyone can deal with it. Cause like I said, it's kind of too big for one person to do anything about. So I I don't want to say that it's like, thank you, Nale. Thank you very much. I don't want to say like, just absolve any responsibility for doing anything.
That's not how you talk to people.
But I'm just saying that let's agree on what we know. You just have to like, find joy, find hope where you can find it. It's like, you know what I mean? You can't just like, it's okay to check out of that kind of stuff.
You have to get fucking Buddhist about this shit.
Yeah.
And then which is another form of fucking Nietzschean. You have to understand the fucking teachings of Nietzsche and Siddhartha. All right. You're not here to have a good time. Life isn't about happiness. All right. It just isn't. Life is mostly about suffering. Okay. And you suffer because you desire things that either disappoint you in the end, or you desire in things that you'll never have, or you'll desire things that you get and then you get sick of. So your life is just a constant wanting shit and then getting sick of it and then wanting something else and getting sick of that. All right. Until you give up this fucking concept of fucking being dependent on things and wanting things and needing things. As soon as you become that, you'll reach an enlightened indifference to where it won't really fucking matter. All right.
Yeah.
Now let's agree on reality. It has been demonstrated that if you live in certain areas, you can't depend on police to protect you or your property. That's a fucking heavy break from the social contract. Especially when you're dealing with society that says that you can't defend yourselves and you can't have guns and we can't defend you. Now that's a huge fucking problem. Take care of yourself. All right. Fuck them. They can't help themselves. Okay. Just so there's you can't expect them to be there when you need them, which goes back to your First and Second Amendment rights in the United States. You can speak your mind unless a fucking mob of people comes to your house and fucking kills you over it. All right. Which is like something out of the damn Salem witch trials. Speak your mind and defend yourself. Get the ability and the knowledge and the means to defend yourself. It won't be that as bad as you think, actually. It's just going back to the way it was. In the 1800s, there weren't a lot of cops. People had to watch out for themselves. And you're going to start seeing a return to a lot of traditional ways of life, especially if the economy collapses in the way that the Soviet Union collapsed. Millions of people died through lack of medicine, starvation, fighting between breakaway republics. That will probably happen here if this goes hot, which I don't see how this isn't going to go hot. And it's not just me saying this. I'm going to refer you to a guy named Terrence Popps, Popps. He's on YouTube. He's a 30-year plus Special Forces veteran and Ranger veteran. He's funny as fuck. And he will give you entire intelligence briefings the way you kind of get it in the military. He has the jokes through the whole thing to get you oriented about what's actually happening and what kind of war this is. It is a war. It just hasn't been called that yet. But the history books will say that it has already started. And I think it started several years back.
Red Harvest says, embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Learn to master the suck. Learn to make the suck fuel you and make you stronger.
Although, like I said, you know, and in some ways too, you don't feel like you have to be responsible for everything that's going on.
Your friends and family.
Don't.
Your friends and
you
family.
know what I mean? And it's like, and it's okay to like check out from it a little while and just like go have a good time and watch a stupid movie or something like that. It's like, don't feel like you have to stay plugged in all the time because that's just not good for anybody's mental health. And we can't have everybody like fucking flipping out and going mental. But and I laughed because I didn't want it to go away, but you kept talking. But Christine said what I was saying about like holding the period blood.
Yeah.
She says, you're laughing, but I heard that crap as a nurse. I had to keep a straight face talking with the patient. I told you there's nothing that you can say that is so stupid that somebody somewhere does not believe it. Yeah. And it does not surprise me in the least that some teenage boy somewhere, or maybe an older man, I don't know, would not know that you can't just hold in your period. Yeah. That does not shock me in the least. Yeah. And that you could make a baby in your butt. Yeah. Why was he only putting it in her butt? Did he say?
I guess he thought it went in one area and went in one hole and came out the other. I guess.
Maybe he was like watching a magician because like if you do like put like a thread or something like up your nose, you can bring it out out your mouth. So maybe he thought it was that kind of situation.
Maybe he got some idea from some.
It was all connected.
Maybe he consulted Chinese medicine and misunderstood what the Chinese medicine said. Something like because the Chinese medicine says all kinds of crazy shit.
It's just very weird, funny to me. That's very funny to me. And like I said, every woman on earth was like, "Yeah, we wish."
Crazy shit. That's fucking crazy. But what else is that?
Colette asked, "When's the cookbook coming out?" It's
man, we got other shit you have to do first. Huh?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I wanted to start like working on it soon. I mean, we have like all the recipes like laid out and how we're gonna put them, and I have sort of like a rudimentary layout. Although, like I said, I want to like finesse it like once we figure out like how long all the recipes are going to be and stuff like that. But that's
going to be a 6 month job at least.
I mean, I think it'll be by the end of the year, I would think, because I'm still working on my Faceless Villain 4 book as well.
Right.
But I probably want to get the cookbook out before that. Like, I'm trying to like just work on one project at a time, but it's kind of hard. I keep like going back and forth between, because, working on the show as well. But it'll be probably before Christmas, I would imagine. Yeah, because she said gonna need all those spam recipes for the apocalypse.
Yeah. Just know this, okay? These dudes that you see in what they call the chop, and you see these people pulling down statues and all this crazy shit that they're doing, they have no idea what they're asking for. All right, they have no idea. They're not only are they not ready for this, cops aren't ready for this. All right. They had an ex-military, ex-combat veteran cop. He made a video as he was telling the other cops, he says, "You guys aren't rough fucking ready for this." He got fired, but he was going to quit anyway. And a lot of cops are quitting. It's very easy to, two well-trained men can fucking defeat an entire police force in about a week and get them to walk off fucking the jobs. But by using the same tactics that were used in Baghdad, you just keep calling the police into a bad situation where you're waiting for them. And then you get on their fucking frequencies and fucking say, "We're going to do it again. We're going to keep calling you." And they'll stop answering the fucking calls. They'll walk off because cops are not soldiers. They're there for a paycheck. All right. They'll collect their family and run. All right. And then when shit starts breaking down, don't depend on the U.S. military to be there for you. They're going to run. They're going to go back home, just like the fucking Soviet soldiers did. And they're going to go back home with their equipment, and they're going to fight for their local neighborhood. Don't mean to disappoint you, but that's not how that works. The federal army was made for a different situation. It was made for warring states or conducting wars outside the United States. It can't conduct a war inside the United States and not remain coherent. It would fucking break apart into a bunch of factions. You'll see. Let's hope that they can stop it, but I don't think they can. I think the Titanic has already hit the iceberg. They're just rearranging the damn deck chairs, and the band's playing. That's what's really going on.
Yeah, I mean,
And I got active duty guys that I talk to. I know what's going on. I know what they're telling them, and it ain't good. They're getting a lot of confusing mixed messages, which means that the general staff officers don't know what to do. Okay. Because they're from different parties. You forgot about that. But it's Republicans and Democrats are in the General Officer Corps. All right? You're not going to get any coherent response out of that organization. All right? Just today, or it might have been yesterday, a group of armed militiamen went to a protest in New Mexico to try to prevent some people from toppling over a statue of some conquistadors. The protesters drove the dudes off, and they ran armed men down and forced one armed man to fucking shoot the guy to protect himself. Then the cops came, and the cops arrested the fucking militia guys. Well, where were the cops? Why weren't the cops defending the damn statue? There's no law and order anymore, and the cops are going to choose whatever side's going to give them the least trouble. And at first, they're going to say, we'd rather arrest these militiamen than arrest these protesters because we might lose our job. But the militias are going to retaliate by attacking the cops and calling the cops traitors. And then when the cops start to lose, cops are kind of soldier-like. They're going to choose the strong horse. They're going to go, yeah, fuck the police. I'm going to join the militia. And then the militia will swell. And then they'll eventually become regional and state armies. Because the organized armies will be paralyzed because their bureaucracies, they're fat, they're bloated, and they're fucking corrupt with cancer. They have conflicting political ideas. And in a world of gray, black and white wins. In other words, purity wins, not confusion. So when chaos starts to ensue, it's the people that believe and the most intolerant will win. The side that kills the most people and can manage terror the best wins. And that's just the way history is. It's not about right or wrong, and it's not about good or evil. It's just about who becomes Genghis Khan first.
The Bee's Nest movie says, don't blame a clown for being a clown. Keep asking yourself why you keep going to the circus.
That's right. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I'm just telling you, that's a prediction from Nostradamus. You're not going to hear that anywhere else. Not from the official sources. Because that's not what they want to tell you. You can only make predictions of the future when you can face something you don't want to fucking hear. All right.
Is that all you're going to say?
That's all I'm going to say about this shit.
All right.
This is not what I want to say. This is not what I want to hear. It's just what I'm seeing. The United States is not a special place. It's a country like any other country, except it's a lot more heavily armed. And it has a lot of patriotic people and a lot of people that don't like the United States all in the same spot. The best possible outcome would be some kind of peaceful separation. I don't see that happening. Not at first.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going on for more than an hour.
Yeah, I don't mean to bring anybody down.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm really bummed out. Thanks a lot. I was just hoping to do like a fun little show because we didn't have a 200th episode. Well, we did have a 200th episode, but we already put it up, so I put it up early. All right, so I guess we will wrap up this stream for today. We might do another one tomorrow. It'll probably be a movie review. And then Thursday, I'll probably put up my Witching Hours show. So we'll figure out what time we're going to do it tomorrow, what movie it's going to be and stuff like that. And I'll let everybody know, probably around the same time, 2 o'clock, because that seems like a good time for us to do it. So thanks everybody that dropped by, and thanks for everybody that donated. Yep. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow.
And cover your own ass.
Well, I think everybody does.
Cover your own ass.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
So you don't bring me down.